Well, here I am in the forest. It's my second attempt at making this video today. I got chased by a bull, so I've retreated to the forest where hopefully there are no bulls. There are lots of rocks and trees. That's really all I need from life. This video, if I don't die falling down this hill, is about two things that you can do to stay real, to keep yourself in the flow. What that means is that you're not running away from yourself or life, hiding. Instead, you're living in a way where you can feel fired up and fully alive because you're putting yourself in life and working with life instead of working against it. I always talk about realness on this channel, and I want to tell you two practical things you can do as lifelong skills, actually, so you can do them for the rest of your life, so you can keep going deeper. I'm going to tell you these two things. I'll help share these two things with you so you can keep moving, keep flowing, and keep growing. So of course this begs the question anyway, what is reality and why do we avoid it? Well, this gets us into some murky ground because some people like to say that I have my reality and you have your reality, and that nobody really knows the truth and you can just decide what it is. You can pick it off the shelf, cherry pick based on your own emotional needs and things like that, or your own unconscious intentions. I believe that reality is reality. The truth is the truth. We have our own interpretations of these things, but the interpretations are not reality itself. And if you understand that, you can start to make sure that the interpretations you carry put you in a frame of reality that actually serves you, instead of enslaving you to your own bullshit. The main reason that we choose interpretations of reality that are not real, which I will explain in a bit more detail as we get through the video, is because of our ego. Our ego is a reaction to unresolved, underlying shame, guilt, and or trauma. And it makes us hide parts of ourselves and become fragmented. And so we have to create an interpretation of life and reality that allows us to keep the ego in place. This is the main reason that we end up putting ourselves in situations that are unreal, and we feel friction, frustration, and then misery. It's not because of life itself or because of reality itself. It's because we're resisting reality to keep the ego in place. If you understand this, you can start making real changes, and that's what these two things I'm going to show you are all about. Before I go deeper, I should probably say I'm not one of those guys who's going to tell you that you need to kill your ego. You can't kill your ego because it's not real. It's just a filter that you place between yourself and life, and you need the ego. There's a healthy version of the ego, which is just an image of ourselves that we carry that allows us to function in the world. Function means we can meet our own needs, we can move towards our goals, we don't beat ourselves up, we don't judge ourselves, we don't hold back and hesitate on doing the things that we know we need to do in order to show up in our own lives and actually be real. The ego is not your amigo. That's what they say, and it's completely true. If you attach to the ego and think it is you, then you're always going to put distance between yourself and life, and you're not going to live your real life. That's why it's worth knowing and understanding this. And the two things that I will finally get onto in a second are both going to help you to step away from that and put yourself in reality. So instead of judging yourself and holding back, you can accept yourself and life and move forward by taking real action as an expression of your real essence. So this is the rocky terrain that I'm dealing with right now. Just thought I'd share that with you, just in case this is the last video I ever make. It probably won't be, unfortunately, for YouTube. But yeah, I'm just sharing that with you. So the ego is not your amigo, and that's because the ego is the opposite of reality. Reality is the flow. It's the sensation we get when we're regulated within ourselves. Our nervous system is regulated, our emotions are integrated, i.e. we're not blocking emotions and trying to avoid feeling whatever we need to feel. And so we're just kind of present. We're moving towards a vision, we're taking action, we're putting ourselves in the stretch zone, and we're growing even more real, which means going deeper into wholeness instead of fragmentation. Fragmentation being the conceptual bullshit that we pick up and that puts a spanner in the works and stops us moving forward. The two things that we can learn to do, and this is a practice, so it's something that we can all go deeper and deeper into, But if we know what we're doing, it makes it easier. Awareness is always the first step. The two things that we need to do are, one, learning to discern the real from the unreal. It's all very well and good me standing around in a forest talking to myself about what's real and what's not, but if you can't tell the difference between the two, then it's redundant. There's no point. So I want to show you some things you can do to know if you're coming from a real place or an unreal place. And then the second thing you need to do is to learn to step into witness consciousness. That sounds very pseudo profound maybe, and a bit highfalutin and lofty, but basically it's what the yogis call abiding in the nature of the seer, which also sounds rather extravagant, but ultimately what it means is that we learn to step into our awareness and to observe things and to allow them to do what they need to do instead of identifying with them. The yogis say that our awareness is like a glass smooth lake. I've said this before on the channel. It's a lake with no ripples, no wind. Sometimes in life, the ripples do arise because of the way that we get fluctuations of the mind and the emotions. And then what happens is we tend to identify with those ripples. That takes us out of life. It takes us out of the flow. When we're in the flow, that's feedback that we've been real. When we've got friction and frustration and misery, that's frustration that we've been unreal at some level. We haven't learned the lesson. And so if you know to discern the real from the unreal and to step into that witness consciousness, observe yourself so you can make real choices, then you can step up and actually show up in your own life. Let's start with discerning the real from the unreal. This is one of the things that I've seen make the biggest difference to people's lives when I'm coaching them, because once you get this skill, you can't unsee what you have seen. And so you start making choices that are aligned with the truth instead of bullshit. The bullshit is the main thing that causes us problems in life. A lot of the time what happens is we have underlying shame, guilt and or trauma, which leads to the ego. The ego starts judging us and giving us all these reasons to hold back and feel bad about ourselves. But often what happens as well, we create imaginary problems in our head that are supposed to justify us not moving forward and taking the action that we need to take. And then we just get worked up and keep moaning about this bullshit that we've concocted ourselves because we're living in fiction instead of fact. Learning to discern the real from the unreal is ultimately about learning to put yourself back in fact instead of fiction. And so the first thing that you need to do, if you want to start doing it, is to start looking at your own thoughts, like literally looking at your thoughts and assessing them for whether they're true or untrue, whether they're real or unreal. In general, if your thoughts are unreal, they're going to be telling you that you can't do things or you can't be things or that you're supposed to be something you're not, and it's all just going to be bullshit. If you really look at the thoughts, you're going to see that anything that tells you that you can't move forward, that you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't adapt, you can't evolve, all of that stuff, you're going to see that it's not real. And then you're going to stop believing in it, and you're going to take yourself out of the negative cycle that it puts you in. So that's the first thing you can learn to do. Manage your thoughts by assessing them for validity. Human beings can keep growing and evolving and going deeper into wholeness. If your thoughts are telling you that that's not true, then you picked up some bullshit and it's just causing you not to live your real life. The second thing that can help you to discern the real from the unreal is to pay attention to your energy. When we've been real, like I said, we're regulated at the level of the nervous system, and we're integrated or in the process of integrating our emotional stuff. That means that in general, we have a baseline of equanimity. We can feel calm, we can feel present. We don't need to distract ourselves from life because we're not scared to feel our feelings and show up inside ourselves and then in life by extension. When we've been unreal, we have all this underlying shame that leads to the ego, and the energetic sensation that we're going to notice ourselves feeling quite a lot of the time is compulsivity. We're going to feel this almost addictive, compulsive vibe inside ourselves that's going to make us feel like we have to chase something, or that we have to send that next text, or we have to watch our phone for text coming through, or we have to buy something, consume something, or we're just going to feel this void inside ourselves. It can literally be anything. But if you start to pay attention to the compulsive energy, you're going to realize that it's an inner kind of feedback system from your mind, body, and life as a whole. It's showing you that you're not being real. And so when you start to feel that, instead of the flow, you can see it as feedback that you're probably holding on to something that's not real. In a way, a lot of these things are linked because it's going to come down at some level to the way you're thinking about things. Normally, we end up with this compulsive energy because we're thinking that some good thing in the world, like a relationship or money or power or sex or whatever, we're thinking it's the ultimate thing because we've got the shame and we think it's going to fill the void. And so we get compulsive about trying to bring it into our lives or trying to get it. Think about a heroin addict. Maybe that's a bit extreme, where it's the same ultimate spectrum though. When a heroin addict is thinking about their next fix, they get really compulsive. It's the only thing they can think about. In that moment, that is their God, so to speak. We do the same thing anytime we're in that compulsive energy. And it's because we put something on a pedestal other than our lives itself. That is always unreal, because the only ultimate in life is life. And if you understand that, you can discern the real from the unreal, put yourself on the path that you're supposed to be on. The third and final thing that you can start doing to learn to discern the real from the unreal is to pay attention to the BBBOBS. That's a weird thing to say, BBBOBS, but what it means, or stands for, is the big black bag of bullshit. What this means is, when we have this inner fragmentation, this split within ourselves, there's a gap between what we're showing to the world and who we really are. We have a shadow dance going on, is what I call it, between the ego, the mask that we're wearing, and all of the parts that we've hidden beneath the surface of ourselves in order to keep wearing that mask. That is the shadow self. When we're in the shadow dance, we're walking around with a big black bag of unresolved bullshit that we just don't want to face, because the main reason we get attached to the ego is because we don't want to feel our feelings and then face reality. So anyway, we're walking around with this BBBOBS and we're trying to get other people to take responsibility for it. We're projecting our stuff onto them. And so if you notice that you're getting frustrated with other people, then it means at some level there's something inside you that you still need to work on. Again, like I keep saying, flow and frustration are both feedback. If you're in the flow, it's feedback that you've been real. If you're getting frustrated, it's feedback that you've been unreal at some level. In most cases, sometimes life is just frustrating. Like if you're trying to work with Microsoft Word or something like that. But in general, we're walking around with this BBBOBS and we're trying to give it to other people, and it just causes friction. It goes the other way too. A lot of the time, people are trying to give us their BBBOBS, which means they're projecting their stuff onto us. And if we're not careful, we're going to take it because the shame makes us feel that we deserve to take it, because it takes us out of our frame of reality. When we've got shame, we feel like we should enter other people's frames of reality, their interpretations, instead of staying grounded in our own that we know are true. And so we end up taking on board the BBBOBS, and it just causes all kind of friction, frustration, misery, drama. And again, it gives us feedback that we're not being real. So we can learn to discern the real from the unreal by paying attention to the kind of feedback we're getting in relation to how we project onto others or how they project onto us. And we feel like we have to take that big black bag of bullshit, emotional garbage, as though it's ours, our responsibility. It's not. And our stuff isn't the responsibility of other people. We all are responsible for not hurting people intentionally, but dealing with our own stuff. That's how you keep growing real and keep moving forward. So the first skill to keep growing real is to learn to discern the real from the unreal. That's something that we have to keep learning to do. We can always go deeper. We're always going to go deeper into wholeness. The second thing that we can learn to do to support this, these two things complement each other and feed into each other, is to learn to witness ourselves. What this means, as I said earlier, is we get into our awareness and we learn to step back and detach from our thoughts and emotions and to observe life before we make a choice about how we want to participate in it. Ultimately, what this means is that instead of just reacting automatically anytime a thought or emotion comes up, we know our vision and our principles and where we want to go in life, how we want to show up, who we want to be, and we can make a choice because there's a gap between whatever is stimulating us in the environment and our reaction or response to it, and we can make a choice in that place. We choose based on our vision and principles instead of our feelings. The reason this is important is because feelings are temporary. They come and go, they pass, they contradict with each other. You can love somebody and hate somebody at the same time, for example. So if you just follow your feelings, you're going to get very confused. It's the same with your thoughts. Thoughts come and go. They're like planes in the sky. But if you invite them, you act like an airport and you allow everyone to land on top of you, then you're going to have a bad time. knowing your vision and your principles and getting into that witness consciousness allows you to make a choice. And the way that you do that is through stuff that you've probably already heard about. In fact, definitely already heard about. One thing that I really recommend is yin yoga. Yin yoga allows you to get into your body, to regulate your nervous system, so you can make choices from a place of present, but also it allows you to start processing some of your emotional stuff. Meditation is another good one. Getting out into nature, learning to urge surf or surf your emotions. That just means you watch them rise and fall. Emotions are energy, emotion. I made a video about that already. If you understand all these things, then you can keep coming back to reality and into your body and into the present moment, instead of letting your head, your ego, take you places you don't want to go. It's simple stuff, but like I said, if you use those two things, discerning the real from the unreal and getting into witness consciousness as much as possible, coming from a place of awareness and choice, then over time, you're going to keep making real choices and life's going to get better. I always say, unreal in, unreal out. If you make unreal choices, your life's going to get unreal. If you make real choices, real in, real out, then what you put into your life is going to be real, and your life is going to become more real as well. It's really simple, but it all comes back to where you stand within yourself. Goodbye, cruel world. Again, not really. I think I said that in the other video. On a different precipice. Not a bad one as far as precipices go. Everything I'm talking about in this video is about choice. Whoa. Okay, I was going to jump over there, but I think that's a terrible idea. Everything I'm talking about in this video is a choice. The choice between wholeness or fragmentation. Wholeness means you're going deeper into life, deeper into connection at the level of yourself, the world, and reality. That means you're not giving in to the ego, which is not your amigo. You're allowing yourself to express something real, because only if you express something real through real action are you going to be able to make real connections with people. Fragmentation means you're giving in to all of the little things inside yourself that cause you to think that you're separated within yourself, split within yourself, and disconnected from life. All the old programming and conditioning that makes you think you can't do this, you can't do that, that you can't express your essence in the world. When you learn to discern the real from the unreal, and you slow down and learn to witness instead of running around like a headless chicken, then you get your power back. You can start making real choices. It's not going to solve all your problems overnight, because it's a process, but it's going to put you in the zone where the choices that you do start making are real, and then eventually it's going to be a case of what I said a few minutes ago. Real in, real out. Reality is going to start to reflect the real choices that you made instead of the unreal ones that you made. So if you find yourself right now in a place where you've got friction in your life, frustration and misery, ask yourself, how can you start discerning the real from the unreal and witnessing so you can make a choice instead of just acting in an unreal way because of the old emotional stuff that's blocked within you and the way it's making you think about yourself. These are two really important things. They can help all of us, in my opinion. The human condition is that we're all dealing with the same fundamental thing, the same truths about life and the same building blocks of life. The scenery is different for all of us because we all go through different things, but things like this are going to help all of us to stay real, to show up. So I hope that helped you. Stay real out there. Peace.